Hey there,
Hello!
guys. Hello,
We are live
hello.
today.
We are super excited. So as you guys pop on, all we would love to know is your name and why you're here today. What do you want to walk away with? What kind of aches and pains do you have?
And do you have any injuries that you may have just had? We'll show you some modifications today.
We want to know your aches and pains, so
Yes.
we make sure that we cover those modifications just for you.
Yes, indeed.
We want to know about your aches and pains. So
Right.
as you guys come in, arthritic knees, yes.
Yep.
Me too.
Yeah.
Too. I'm telling you, it is a challenge every day. But with the right modifications and the right supplementation, I am squatting and lunging and doing all the things, amazingly enough. We are super excited to see you. Zen is ready.
Yes, he is ready.
He usually hangs out on his bed. Oh, that's why. So I'm going to go ahead and you guys make sure that you let us know what aches and pains you have. And we're going to go ahead and get started in a second.
All right, so we know how frustrating it can be to be injured and to have pain in our bodies and not know where to go from there, and if we should go from somewhere,
Exactly.
and where to go.
So sometimes it's hard to know, okay, I have this ache and pain. Should I keep pushing it? Should I stop? So what we want to do is kind of help you identify when to push through, how to modify things, and the benefits of continuing to train while you have injuries or as we age and have little aches and pains, musculoskeletal issues as we go.
Yep, and the benefits are just phenomenal if you continue training and adapt through your injuries and pain. It boosts mood, it can ease depression, it relieves stress and anxiety, boosts our confidence, and we can focus on modifications.
When you are hurting, a lot of times we experience some depression, anxiety over that. We feel like, we've come so far, or we just got started, and now what? So continuing to be able to exercise is going to mitigate some of those psychological and emotional issues that you experience when you do have pain in the body.
Exactly. And we are by no means going to be able to diagnose anything, of course.
Right. So make sure that when you do have especially chronic pain, you go to your doctor, you find a professional that can help you, that we can work side by side with in order to get you clear to do a lot of these modifications that we're going to show you today.
Exactly. And remember, just because let's say you get a paper cut on your finger.
Yeah.
And the good news is, just because your finger hurt doesn't mean you can't train your legs, and vice versa. If your knees are hurting or you injured yourself and you don't know what's going on, it doesn't mean you can't train your upper body. So
right. So usually I know when how they're going to react when they get hurt. You have the people who hurt their right middle toe and they're asking themselves, I can't do this or that. What I want you guys to walk away with is when you do have an ache and pain, when you do have an injury, instead of saying or asking yourself what you can't do, ask yourself what you can do. I had a client one time who had this phenomenal upper body, and he was so upset because he tore his rotator cuff. So he had 12 weeks where he was not allowed to do any upper body movement and just stopped training altogether. After the first couple weeks, mind you, this is a guy who has this nice big upper body but these little pig legs, right? So I said, let's spend the next 10 weeks working on the core, working on the legs, and he came out of that 12-week escapade with these phenomenal legs, better symmetry, and in a good mindset.
with that being said, we can absolutely focus on legging body parts when we do wait for other parts to heal. That's the good news.
So without further ado, we would like to show some alternate strength training exercises from toes to head.
Wait, you mean head, shoulders, knees, and toes?
Knees and toes.
All right, without further ado. Okay, so
All right.
first of all, we're going to focus on the knees first. Instead of the forward lunge, a reverse lunge can be a really great alternative, like Stacy's showing. It helps keep our knees in line so we don't wiggle back and forth, and we have that tension in the glutes and the hamstrings, and we get to build our glutes and hamstrings through it.
So I'm in my 50s, and my knees are pretty much bone on bone. So forward lunges put a lot of pressure on that knee joint. I find that doing reverse lunges helps utilize the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads instead of putting pressure in that joint.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, Karis, you hit it right on the nail. It's a mindset too. That's absolutely a good thing. Yes. So the next one is, instead of barbell squat, we can do a box squat.
So we're using this today as a barbell, so I don't have to get the barbell out, but this is my lofty barbell.
And always be sure of the box that you use, that it's not too low.
Right.
Get an idea of what you want to sit down to first. Yep.
So there are a couple ways to do this. When I have people that roll into their toes instead of having a nice balance between the ball of the foot and the heel, I will have them actually sit down. So they'll get used to sitting back instead of leaning forward and come up. When you get good at that, then you can just tap and go. And it keeps you from leaning forward as well.
Absolutely. We're going to move on to, and also instead of squats, regular squats, we can also do hip hinge movements. Hip hinge movements are an amazing alternative when your knees are not feeling it.
Do you want to show some hip hinges?
Sure. So we can do a hip hinge. Would be a straight leg deadlift.
Yes.
Right here and up. Always driving through the glutes.
If you have knee issues, but your low back is healthy, this is a phenomenal option for you because you're going to really hit that glute hamstring connection as you're hinging from the hips.
Yeah, and just the big caveat take home is not to slouch the back when you come down. Always squeeze the shoulder blades and then come down.
So that upper back, people tend to round because of the lifestyle that we have. We are working on the computer. Even when you're driving, even when you're running, cycling, I mean, think about all the different activities that we do in addition to just our everyday life. They're all a forward-leaning position. So we've got to really work on opening that back up, and that's going to help with a lot of the aches and pains that we feel.
Absolutely. And with that, so we have both legs. We have a straight leg deadlift. We also can do variations, single leg deadlifts and regular as that. Yep, just like that single leg. Any kind of hip hinge deadlift variation.
This also, anything you do unilaterally is going to help with your balance. And as some of you know, your balance, if you don't work on it, you lose it. So use it or lose it, right?
That's true.
So it's beneficial to do a lot of unilateral work within your workouts. It doesn't have to be all unilateral, and it doesn't even have to be 50%, but do at least 2 exercises
Pepper them in.
that require a lot of balance.
Exactly. Then we move on to standing calf raises, which are also amazing because they also help take that pressure away from the knee and helps build the calf.
We can also do
Single leg. Yep.
I don't know if you guys can see me.
I think so. Yes.
Single leg.
Good. Good. Yes, new jam backward lunge. Excellent, Karis. I love it. Yes. So then we're going to do side lying leg raises, which also are a great alternative when your knees aren't feeling it.
Kristin?
I will. All right. Right here. You're going to come up. So we're working on the outside of the leg.
The old Jay Fonda days.
Oh, yeah.
Calisthenics.
Burn!
Calisthenics are coming back, right? But now, not only are we doing calisthenics, but we're adding adding resistance bands to that,
That's
right?
We've
So
got those glute bands.
you can add glute bands to pretty much anything, including the squats that we just showed you, your side abduction, your adduction.
Exactly. Yep. So then we go into the lying hamstring curls or standing hamstring curls.
So I like to use the stability ball for this one, and this does not bother my knees like a lot of machine curls do.
Machines can kind of stretch.
And I like to start up and in. Can everybody see me? You might want to angle down a little bit.
Just a little. There we go.
And extend and back in. When you extend, you don't want to lock out your knees, right? You want to keep the engagement. If you want to make it harder, you move that ball out more. Easier, pull it in. To make it even harder, slow that baby down. In, out, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Yep.
Nice. Absolutely. So any questions on the leg portion, on the knees? Any questions out there? We can go through that, but if not, we're going to move on up to the hips. And we're going to talk about, instead of doing a deadlift, because that can be pretty challenging for the lower back, to do the plank pros. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do it.
There are a couple ways. So Kristin's going to show you the plank on the floor, and I will show you on the stability ball.
Okay, sounds good. There we go.
Yeah.
We want our body in a straight line, and always activate your glutes while you're in the plank.
Tight glutes. You don't want to be a tent, so you don't want to be up here like this, and you don't want to be a bridge, right? So you're engaging literally from the ankles all the way up to the crown of your head.
Full body movement.
Yep, and you can do the same thing on the stability ball. So make it actually a little bit harder. Push through the shoulders.
There you go, and she's in a straight line.
Yep.
And squeeze in the glutes.
So again, and notice, like, you'll start shaking right away, because this is no joke.
Yes, I'm glad you like that hamstring exercise, Karis. Those are amazing, aren't they? Yeah, they're great. So we're moving on to, instead of heavy squats or deadlifts, to do hip abduction exercises.
Yes.
So you want the band?
Do you want to glute band?
Yeah.
Okay.
All forms of,
There you go.
all forms. So these are fun. You can do monster walks, or you can do side laterals, just like that. Or you can do monster walks, which are down here. You stay nice and wide, and then you walk forward and backward. Those are great ways to activate.
So every time you have a glute band on, you are adducting. You're pushing out.
Yes.
Not necessarily lifting, but pushing out against the band. So when you do these exercises, you never want to let the resistance on that band go. So what I've found, because of my back and knees, I can no longer heavy squat. So what I do now is I'll do a 95-pound squat, but put a heavy glute band on that increases that resistance without loading my back. And I've noticed by doing that, I have not lost any size. In fact, I think that my glutes are better developed now than when I was squatting super heavy.
Yep, absolutely. Your body, that's a really good reminder to remember our bodies don't know what weight we're lifting. It doesn't. It doesn't know the difference between 5 to 50 pounds. It knows it's being taxed in a different way.
Yeah.
So weight does not always equal better. Higher weight does not equal better.
Yes, exactly.
So now that we've covered the hips, we're going to move to the back. So instead of sit-ups, which can absolutely wreck our backs, we are going to do instead a hollow boat hold. Do you want to do that?
So if you'll notice, I have a little bit of an anterior pelvic tilt naturally. So when I lay down on the ground, you can put your hand right underneath my back, right? In order to do the hollow body hold, also for kids call it the banana, your arms go over your head and you close that space. So you press the thoracic and lumbar spine down. Feet end up about a foot off the ground, arms up.
And you can't fit your arm underneath her.
Right.
Yep. She's locked in on the floor.
And that is a hollow body hold.
Nice. Moving on, instead of kettlebell swings, glute bridges are absolutely amazing exercises and add a band.
Yeah, we don't have to do that now because, just on and off. But if you do, watch what Kristin does. She's doing our hip lift. Good. If she adds a band to it, pushes against the band, that's only going to increase the resistance. You may or may not need that band to start out, but as you get stronger, you will. You can also use a ball. We'll see if she can do this without falling. And lift up. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
So there are many different levels. You can do it on the ground. You can do it with a stability ball. You can do single leg.
Yeah.
So and also, if the stability ball feels good, but it's too unstable, then you can use something like a bench, which will give you more stability, but will give you the height that you need to give you a little extra glute isolation.
Awesome. Moving on to the next one. Instead of bent row, bent over rows.
Bent over rows.
There it is. Instead of bent over rows, try single arm rows, kneeling. So then you actually have more stability. You want to show that up? Or I can do that. There we go. So then we're going to grab here. And we're going to row up towards the hip.
If your back is not bothered by less support, like not putting your hand on, you can go here and do the same thing and get a little more core out of it. But it just depends on where your aches and pains are. And I will tell you that statistically, those over 40, 90%, shocking statistic, of the population has herniated discs in their lumbar spine. L4, L5, S1 tend to be the issue. And I'm sure if you're in your 40s, especially if you're in 50s, 60s, 70s, you know a lot of people who share that issue.
Yep.
And it can be very easy to strain the low back if you're not careful and use some of these modifications.
So speaking of straining, so instead of, we talked about the plank a little earlier.
Sure.
So instead of high plank, you want to do a lower plank. And so instead of doing the plank through straight arms, we do the same plank that we showed just previously, lower plank.
Yep. And you can also do it on a raised surface. This is a lot less compromising on the low back to do a raised surface.
Absolutely. So now we've covered the back, and we're going to end with shoulders. And so instead of, we're going to go up to lateral raises. Those can be very, very stressing, especially on the small joint. This is a smaller joint. It doesn't always want to do a lot of weight. So instead of laterals, we can always try a landmine lateral raise. It's where you take any bar and you come up like so. It takes away that stress as far as the direction that it's going. Does that make sense? And it feels a little better.
Right. So a lot of people do have some pain in the rotator cuff, and at times that lateral movement can compromise the infraspinatus.
Now, instead of military presses, because I know this movement can be really painful. This movement alone can be very painful, especially if you injure your shoulder, torn a rotator cuff. It can be very painful. So instead of that, we can do one plank.
Instead of overheads, what I've done with like bands sometimes is you can go at a slight angle. Yeah. So
there we go.
And you can do the same thing. So imagine this is your barbell. If you don't have a barbell at home, I'll show you a band option, but go ahead.
So you literally just drive up here, and you're protecting that shoulder joint more And you can always stand in that power stance where your knees are slightly bent. We never want to lock out. And then drive up. And that also helps incorporate the chest more too. So it takes pressure away from your
So
shoulders.
there are a couple of options with your bands. And you can get a lot out of bands. So no poo-pooing the bands. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to be caught dead using bands. And then you see someone who's extremely fit using bands on a regular basis. There's a reason they're used in physical therapy. There's a reason that powerlifters use them, because you want to strengthen not just your muscles, but the small muscle fibers that hold those muscles together, right? Hold the joints together. You really need that. So maybe just go lighter and you can come up and you can alternate and go slightly forward. So I do have a little shoulder issue right now, so going directly over the head is a little bit compromising, but if I alternate and I go 2 inches in front, I'm still working that front delt, that lateral delt effectively, yet I'm not sacrificing, the pain in the shoulder.
Absolutely. Protect shoulders.
I like shoulder.
I like that. All right, the last one we're going to cover for shoulders is, instead of tricep dips, cable pushdowns or banded pushdowns. You can do either. The reason is because dips very much make your shoulders lean forward and actually compromise. They leave them hanging a little, so we want to protect them.
Yeah, not only that, but when most people do dips, let me show you what typically happens. A lot of people go here.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot of stress on that front delt. Instead of hips back, I often think of taking my tailbone underneath the bench. And that keeps me upright rather than the stress on the front delt that happens right here. But if all of those cause you some discomfort, then I'm going to show, Kristin can show you. Go ahead and
I'll do single arm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Right here?
Yep.
Okay. Right here.
So you can do any sort of tricep extension.
And that definitely protects the shoulder.
Yeah.
So, there it is in a nutshell. We are so glad you joined us this evening, and we hope you got something out of it and you can take something with you for your workouts this week.
I know we went through, I keep moving out of the, so I know that we kind of flew through that because we had a lot to cover today. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any specific issue that you would like some ideas to modify.
And remember, keep going.
Yep.
Pain and injuries, we can learn how to adapt, innovate, and overcome. So don't give up.
Absolutely.
We're here to help.
Absolutely. Keep killing it, everybody. Have a wonderful night. See you soon.
Bye.